Right, so the video we're about to see is of a bloke that I approach who's standing at a socialist stall. These stalls are lined up all the way up Whitehall, and you won't see any of them in the press or in the sort of Sky News or BBC News stations. They don't seem to pop up. But the reason it's important, because he seems really harmless and, you know, polite and approachable. But you'll hear him basically advocate that the rich should be taxed heavily. That they should be imprisoned in their country unless they want to have their money taken. Sort of, I took it quite easy on him because I wanted to get him to say certain things so that you actually get an idea of what they're actually saying. Because the amount of times I actually get that, and then they get argumentative, and I should have just got some more truth out of them. But you will hear him defend communism and, hear him advocate for the replacement of something which is working now for something that completely destroyed Europe. Don't be fooled by the socialist name. I dig a bit deeper just to make sure that we're not talking about anything else. We're talking about communism. I even refer to Leninism, and he agrees with it. So, like I said, perfectly nice bloke. But, at the end of it all, he's talking shit, and the problem is that too many people don't see it. Now that's sort of why I'm making it, because he seems harmless, like I said, but there's many of these stalls set up there. This isn't one or two. This isn't an odd thing, and they've got thousands of leaflets that are all flying off the shelf. So these are the people that are talking to our lower generations that are coming up, and they're going to be the future voters. So if you don't see it for yourself and see the sort of thing that they're saying and doing, you got no one but yourself to blame when the voting system completely changes when we're all too old to do anything about it. So have a look for yourself and do us all a favour and think for yourself.
About this, where it says Corbyn's policies, right, before we start, what is socialism to you personally?
Socialism to me is it's a way of running society for the benefit of working class people, poor people, so you haven't got a huge amount of wealth hoarded at the top, and the rest of us use food banks or on a bigger scale, mass poverty, hunger around the world.
So would you associate it with Leninism or communism?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a socialist society, is one where it's national, where industry and wealth is nationalised, publicly owned and run by the workers. That's what happened in Russia in 1917.
I think that since then we've learned that it was a very bad idea.
Well, is capitalism a good idea in a sense?
Well, absolutely, because what you get left with is people striving to become rich, which makes the economy large. If we all shared the same, what you get is people that there's no point starting a company because you're not entitled. You're going to end up nowhere. So we wouldn't have Pimlico coming.
How many people who start companies actually end up very successful or wealthy? How many of them self-employed people or working?
I'd say probably a quarter. But the point is that's why life is what it is, because if I now become rich and I take on a series of people, they'll probably get a higher wage if they're qualified than if I had just given them a communist packet. So, ultimately, without going into the fact that Corbyn himself, his name is awful. Socialism, what will it do if we start falling behind other countries financially? Because where will the money come from? Every rich person would leave England and we would have no big income. And where does that bank balance exist?
Well, who creates the wealth? I mean, working class people. I mean, it's not just someone has loads of money and they're kind of benevolent and create loads of jobs. It's workers create the wealth. If workers didn't do any work, no money would be made.
But a worker is a man that becomes a multimillionaire. Otherwise, the unions would still run things.
It's impossible for every worker to become a multimillionaire.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So you accept that
life is exercised on merit. Otherwise, what you end up with.
Well, there's plenty of people who work very hard and don't see any reward for that work.
No, that's fair.
It's just a rigged system. I mean, obviously, if you're born into wealth, if you all the rest of it.
Well, before Margaret Thatcher, it's safe to say if you were born poor, you died poor.
Well, not necessarily. Before Margaret Thatcher, you had lots of highly skilled jobs, which are non-existent, manufacturing and all the rest of it.
You weren't getting in.
Well, that's not true. I mean, if wages then were higher level relatively than they are now. I mean, in terms of
People lived a lower standard of living then than ever. Ultimately, we
I disagree. We didn't have food banks in the 60s and 70s. The welfare state was fully funded. We had fully funded public services.
million immigrants a year, so we wouldn't need them. But
It's a different issue.
it's an issue all the same. But
I'm not saying it's not.
if we was to look at communism now in 2018, the only communist country I can think of is a slave country.
North Korea. I mean, I wouldn't call that communist. I mean, you look at the genuine ideas of socialism, that was never.
It looks suspiciously communist.
They call themselves communists. I mean, you can call yourself what you want. It doesn't mean you are. I mean, there's absolutely
They
no way.
idolise China. They idolise Russia.
There's no but
They've replaced religion with his image.
Yeah, I know it's a megalomaniac kind of. You can call yourself what you want. I mean, they call themselves a communist party. And when North Korea first was created, they might have been a genuine communist party. We can't call all the distortion since.
When North Korea was first created, it was the same dictatorship, and people were still suffering and living in cells when they slept. So, but
that's not a genuine communist country.
I see. So, if we were to take on communism tomorrow, and all the rich people leave the country, what's going to happen to our finances?
Well, I would say we nationalise their wealth and not allow it to be taken out of the country.
Then why would you become rich? Why would you bother putting in an effort? Who's going to grow our economy? Who's going to make new scientific discoveries?
Well, you say new scientific discoveries. I mean, how many scientists are out there who can't afford education, who can't get given the grants that they need, who are battling and competing against other people to try and get those ideas heard, and they're normally only heard if they're profitable. Whereas under socialism, those people
But
would actually
that's how the economy works. If there's no profit in it,
But so you think the short-term profit should be over long-term kind of research? I mean, look at the pharmaceutical companies. The only things they research are stuff they can sell, drugs they can sell, as opposed to actually solving.
You can
all
argue
the
that that's
disease.
awful, but if
Well, that's an example.
No, absolutely. I think there's stories for and against the medical procedures. But if you was to switch to communism tomorrow, where will our money come from? If you tax the rich, that's an injustice. That's not. I mean, a lot of Labour supporters speak of equality when what they actually want is equity. Okay, but where's the equality in taxing someone because they've come from a gutter? They scrape their way to the top. Why don't everyone deserve to pay the same tax? Why should a rich person pay more tax when he might have come from the same street as you?
Well, because they've got more money. I mean,
That's
taxing someone, tax in general. I mean, that's not necessarily like how you run socialism, because some workers and would own the wealth as opposed to trying to take on. But taxation is a way of making the world, the society a fairer place. I mean, that's
it's not fair, is it? If you're saying one person should be taxed more, it's not fair.
But they're taxed more, they pay more tax. Does that mean they're back in the gutter? Of course not. They've still got massive houses, cars.